All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto our power, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught us his truth and who also were well. Peace and salutations to those of the hopeful elect. All right, amen. You know, prophecy is real hot right now. You know, and before I even get anything, all right, let me get, bear with me. This is Habakkuk 2, and I'm going to start at 1. It says, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower and will watch to see what he will say unto me and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. All right, so we're at the end right now where the vision is no longer, tearing. Okay, the vision, is becoming more and more clear. All right, like how on YouTube, right, when you put a video up, they have the quality, you have the low resolution and it's all blurry. You can barely make out what the video is. The audio is muffled. But then, each, resolution increase, it becomes more and more clear until you get, they got 8K or 4K, 8K. All right. Then it's completely clear. You can see everything that's going on, all the details. Well, that's how the prophecies is. Okay. And, the men of the Lord, has been speaking upon the prophecies because, the Lord has given us the heads up. All right. The scriptures say the Lord revealed his secrets unto his servants, the prophets. So before, everything was clear, the men of the Lord was telling you about it. Starting off with our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. All right. The men of the Lord. All right. All the way on down. Okay. And people used to scoff and this and that. Are saying, we ain't going to go to World War III and, martial law is not going to happen in America. Okay. But now look at, prophecy is mainstream. Everywhere you look on the news, prophecy. Everywhere you look on the news is everything we've been saying, going into martial law, the detention centers, okay, which concentration camps, all right, them going after the tribes, the Israelites, you so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Seminole Indians, all right, World War III, okay, these things, has been spoken and been spoken by the men of the Lord. Okay, and now they're coming to pass. Okay, I'm going to continue to read Habakkuk 2 and 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. All right, so these things before, it seemed like they was echoing, they was tearing. All right, you would get, things going on in the Middle East concerning war, but then it'll die down. Then it'll kick back up again. Then it'll die down. All right. You'll hear things about Esau coming down with great wrath. All right. Putting certain policies in order. Or you had another important prophecy is the Sea-Hip, the mark of the beast, which they're pushing that, And I forgot, the Apostle Tahar just did a lesson. Lord's will, I'll check it out. But apparently, they're saying that they want people to have wearable devices. All right. All within, pretty much they're saying as soon as possible, they want everyone to have wearable devices. All right. And on top of that, I believe the Trump administration, they're talking about having a new way of documenting everybody, which is going into the mark of the beast. Okay. So we're seeing, the vision become fully clear. All right. And the only ones that are really, going to take heed are those that are the elect. Because by the time that the vision is clear, everybody's going to see it. Everybody's going to see it. But the point is, you're supposed to take heed to the word while everything, hasn't came yet. Because how are you going to get built up? How are you going to, become rooted? How are you going to be, transformed by the word? The word has to go out. Which is the reason why the internet, hasn't shut down yet. All right. The elect has to be builded up in its truth, Now, there is going to be certain individuals that believe at the end, and sincerely, or else they wouldn't be delivered. There is going to be those that believe at the end, but that's not, for the majority of our people. All right. The majority of our people, 2/3 of Israel here in Babylon the Great, they're going to suffer a horrible death. Okay. And Esau is coming after the tribes, man. Again, it seemed like these things was tearing. You hear stuff and then it died down. But, according to measuring the time diligently in itself, all right, we're pretty much here at the time of Jacob's trouble. All right, we're pretty much here. And, like the Apostle Ramlab just did a lesson going in on it. The horns are going to come right out pretty much. All right. We already see Esau, Edom, physically laying hands on Jake, apprehending him, taking them to a undisclosed location. They don't have to identify themselves to the public. They coming in like a flood. All right. And you already know Trump, that boy Trump, talking about not only does he want to deport illegal immigrants, he wants to deport citizens that are of America, that grew up and are born in America. They want to get rid of, so you already know who they talking about. They talking about the men of the Lord. So, hey man, Yahweh Shema Shai, call all Yahweh Shema Shai, because, hey, if you're in the know, hey, we want this thing to go down as soon as possible. Lord's willing, we're part of the elect. We want this thing to go down because, hey, we understand it's on the Lord's time. All right. But the scriptures say that the Lord wants to give us the kingdom. All right. That, we want the kingdom. We understand that the prophecies have to happen before the kingdom is established. So we want to get the hard part out of the way, so we can, get to, everlasting paradise, which is promised unto the Israelites, starting off with the elect. All right. Because this world is hell. This world, everywhere you go, is nothing but pure hell. This is the upside down world. Everything that's wicked and unjust is held to a high regard here. All right. So when we see, let me actually get that precept. Real quick. This is Luke chapter 21 and 28. It says, and when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. So, hey, the Lord is telling us to be in good spirits. There's another scripture going into, fear none of those things thou shalt suffer. Going into being, some of you shall be cast into prison. So some of us might find ourselves, in a FEMA camp, which Trump, there was an article where pretty much Trump is urging every state to have one of these detention camps. Okay, these detention centers. So pretty much, there's no turning back from this point. We're in that time now, and it's only going to get even more and more clear, meaning, we haven't got to the intense part. We're not knee deep in Jacob's trouble. That's when the vision is extremely clear. Everything that was written concerning judgment and going forth. All right. But it's becoming more and more clear. Okay. But the Lord told us of the hopeful elect that yield the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of Yahweh Shema Shai with the Chakodash, the Holy Spirit. The Lord told us, to look up, to be in a positive mindset. All right. Why is that? Because no matter what, the elect are written to overcome. Yeah, we have to go through, tragedies as far as, we're going to be in the midst of a collapsed society, and we're going to be targeted by Esau, Edom, the devil that the Bible speaks of. All right. And, we're going to be pursued. The scriptures speak about being pilgrims upon earth. We're not going to have a certain dwelling place. We're really going to have to rely on faith. And our faith is really going to be tried. All right. But nevertheless, if we're part of the elect, the Lord is going to get us through these things. And the Lord is going to be with us. All right. And the Lord is going to confound our enemies as well. All right. They think that what they got going on is it. You try running up on a man of the Lord and watch what Yahweh Shema Shai do. All right. We got spiritual power on the way. OK, but we understand that not every individual of the elect are going to receive spiritual power on this side. Divine intervention is going to happen for the members of the elect. But not every member of the elect are going to receive the power, as far as them performing the acts of power, and even, furthermore, some members of the elect will have to, be thrown in FEMA camps. But the Lord said, be faithful unto death, and the Lord shall fight for thee. So either way, hey, we are, in a real positive spirit. We're excited. But we understand that, there's certain deciding factors on whether we part of the elect that we have to get through. All right. So we have to pray that, whatever the deciding factors of the elect, that we, meet those requirements, So Luke 21:28, it says, and when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. So the Lord is going to redeem us. All right. Because we're oppressed in this society, so we need a higher power, to intervene. And that's the reason why, you're seeing, this place collapse at a high rate. You're seeing, people rise up, down there in the ice rage. You got Esau being roused up. All right, you got Esau, full on support of what Trump is doing. Esau is ready to get his hands dirty himself. I'm talking about the everyday Edomite. All right. And then you got Jake, the northern tribe and the southern tribe being hemmed up. OK. And it's only amount of time before Jake start rising up. And, hey, it's going to be even more of a call for martial law. See, Yahweh Shema Shai is the one that's stirring everything up. All right. Let me get a quick precept. This is Luke chapter 12:49. It says, I am come to send fire on earth, and what will I if it already be kindled? So when Yahweh Shai comes, he's going to come with that fire with him. He's going to come with the chariots, the angels, and they're going to be shooting that concentrated fire, which is those laser beams. All right. And they're going to come right when America is getting pelted by those missiles in World War III. And the Lord, he's going to come right in the nick of time to deliver the elect, as well as to bring destruction upon earth. All right. But he said, what will I if it's already be kindled? So when the Lord arise on the earth is going to be in the worst case scenario. It's going to be post-apocalyptic. All right. It's going to, the scriptures speak about this is the time like no other. All right. So, we're witnessing it right now. And, we're in a point where any day, it's like every day something heavy drops. Every day, we see prophecy move forward heavily. America getting involved in Iran. And then now you got Trump on wax talking about they would do it again. They'll bomb Iran again. All right. So, we seeing these things, we should be excited. The Lord has his prophets prophesying in the midst of these things actually happening. All right. So how much more, everything else that's prophesied to happen concerning, the Lord making sure that his elect is fed, has proper raiment, and protected, while everybody else out here is going to be judged. Let me get another precept. But what we're seeing is prophecy, 2nd Ezra chapter 6. And I'm going to start at 68. 2nd Ezra 16 and 68. Forgive me. It says, "For behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you and feed you, being idle with things offered unto idols." So, that's going into the time of martial law. All right. This is that burning wrath of a great multitude. We're starting to see that burning wrath. They're starting to make themselves known. The ICE. All right. Then you have other military factions on standby. All right. And you already know behind the scenes in their mind, they're already know that they about to storm America and come down upon Jake. All right. So it says, and shall take away certain of you and feed you, being idle with things offered unto idols. And that's going into them implementing the CHIP, because once all bets are off and Trump gives them the green light to shoot on sight for everybody that's non-cooperative. All right, that's when all bets are off. Everything gonna collapse, and they gonna roll out the CHIP, which they're already talking about. They need a new way to track everybody. So, they're just gonna roll it out. It says, "And they that consent unto them shall be had in derision and in reproach and trod another foot." Yeah, 2/3 of Israel, they're gonna bow to the image of Baal, and they're gonna receive that physical mark. All right, because they didn't have first and foremost, they didn't take heed to the prophets, to the men of the Lord. So they didn't prepare their minds for what's to come. They didn't prepare their minds for Jacob's trouble. So, and on top of that, they didn't prepare their minds for the CHIP. You got a lot of false Israelite groups out there that's pretty much, got gray areas concerning what the MOTB actually is. And here at Great Millstone, we tell you straight up. All right. So when that time comes, those that have taken heed to the warnings of the prophets, you're going to see it and you're going to know that what it is to avoid it. OK, but those that don't, that the Lord is going to have a green light on them. All right. And ultimately that destruction, the nuclear missiles, is going to be the ultimate consequence for taking it. All right. Verse 70, it says, "For there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord." So, that great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord, we're seeing that right now. We're literally seeing it right now. You go to TikTok and type in ICE raids and there's a lot of videos showing you, Esau just apprehending any and everybody. Apprehend Jake mama, Jake grandma, Jake uncle, Jake cousin. All right. And they going after the southern tribe too. They start off with Levi, so-called Haitians. You know, him and Jacob. You know, hey man, we in that time. Okay. It says, they shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. Yeah, when you see, you know, these ICE agents, all right, them niggas, they in a whole different spirit. It's like they ready to put motherfuckers down. You know, they ready to get rid of Jake. You know, they ain't playing around. They ain't playing games. All right. They have that instinct to kill. All right. And you can, you know, see it. All right. So, hey, we're in that time again. It says, for they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. Yeah, because during this time, nobody's going to be able to pay rent. They're going to revamp the whole system. You know, just like you got your social security card. They're going to want everybody to re-plug into their new system before they can move forward to try to attempt to make everything go back to normal. They want everybody to, go back, get the CHIP, get re-registered with the new ID system, all right, in order for you to buy and sell and whatnot, all right? So, pretty much the majority of the people is going to be out on the streets, okay? There's going to be all kind of people gathering. People are going to be gathered at the beach. People are going to be gathering at random parks, and it's going to be a free-for-all in America. It's going to be like the forever purge. So verse 73 says, then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. Okay. And then at that time, the Lord, he's going to make a bold statement. Okay. Who is the men of the Lord and who ain't? Abba Ratazah, in that time, we're found the men of the Lord. All right. Because we're doing the things that Yahweh Shema Shai commanded us to do, but Lord's will, we're, a part of that number that's predestinated because it's not of works. Okay. It's ultimately by faith whereby ye have believed, but the faith is what's driving and propelling the works. Okay. But, coming down to it, hey, man, it's the time of teaching, it's really the time of teaching is almost up, because in the time of Jacob's trouble, we're not going to need to tell you that all hell is going to break loose. All right. We're not going to. And plus, it's not going to be, a seasonable time to do that, because it's going to be, Esau's going to outlaw pushing his word. They're going to shut it down. They're going to pass legislation, make it illegal, So it's not going to be a wise thing to go out there and tell everybody all hell's breaking loose when literally all hell's breaking loose already. We've been saying that already. Now it's going to happen. And then once it actually happens, there's going to be people looking for answers. There's going to be people looking, but the men of the Lord ain't going to be there. The truth is going to be hid. All right. And let us not forget, the draft, which you're going to have a lot of people avoiding that draft. You're going to have a lot of motherfuckers avoiding that draft to the point where that's going to be a problem. Because America is so divided. This is the most divided America has ever been. And the scriptures say, that, a house that's divided can't stand. So, yeah, just wanted to, touch on that. Look forward to more. Hey, Esau, Edom, they talking about opening Guantanamo Bay and all these different detention centers. They talking about it, but they already doing it. Esau, they're moving forward. And Trump, that's the dude right there. That's the dude to that the Lord is using, to bring forth that wrath, you know. But yeah, let me 2nd Ezra 16 and 73. Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. So we're going to be tested because our lives is going to be on the line. We're going to be tested because they're going to come directly after us. Hey, we're on the forefront, and the elites, they understand that the only ones that are really hindering, everything that they got going on as far as their NWO, the only ones that are truly hindering them are the elect and the prophets, the men that are, prophesying in the names of Yahweh Shema Shai. So the elites, really, they going to put all their force and try and come after the men of the Lord. So we're definitely going to be tried, but the Lord is going to be with us. All right. The Lord is going to fight for us. Yahweh Shema Shai, the Lord going to show that power. The Lord going to show, he going to show man on earth who's really in charge. Because Esau's going to try to condemn us, but who is he that condemneth? All right, Yahweh Shema Shai is the one that says, that justifies. And right now, Esau, Edom, them niggas are through. They got to suffer for what they got going on all the way back to the garden. So, hey, man, the Lord going to step up for his elect, the men that's been, his ambassadors on the earth. Okay, his mouthpiece. Okay, and when you touch the messenger of the king, that's an act of war. So what you think Yahweh Shema Shai is getting ready to do, man? We getting ready to see that power. Because we're powerless. Save our power, Yahweh Shema Shai. That's crazy. Like, we have no might, but we have access to Yahweh Shema Shai, which is infinite power. Hey, man, we just got to trust in the Lord, trust in Yahweh Shema Shai that he's going to come through for us in these times, and, continue to watch the prophecies, man. I want to say, call all Yahweh Shema Shai for giving me the spirit to do this lesson. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught us his truth and who also were well. Peace and salutation to those that are hopeful elect. Shalom and above.